We started plumbing the fuel lines from the Nuke Performance in-tank surge tank with PTFE braided fuel lines. There are 3 AEM fuel pumps in this system, and on the front of the cell we mounted a Wix combined fuel filter and regulator. I've chosen the Switch Pros for this build. The Switch Pros is a PDM touchpad which eliminates fuses and relays. It has 4 35 amp outputs and 4 20 amp outputs. We paired the Haltech Rebel ECU with the Haltech IC7 Dash, which displays all of our sensor readings, and we have custom programmed all of the warnings such as coolant temp, oil pressure and fuel pressure. The front drive shaft is a 2-piece design utilising a Ford Ranger centre bearing with 1350 unis and an 1.5" diameter through shaft. A Red Winch Supercharger box was the pick for this application, as we wanted to run a single alternator to reduce the stress on the belt. We paired the Supercharger with big SSB lithium batteries and only had to run 70mm squared cable since each lead is short. The battery tray mounts both batteries with the Supercharger box and has an integrated kill switch on top. Linking the wheelwood calipers to the custom brake pedal are fully braided lines, a Patrol vacuum booster, and a Patrol master cylinder. drew and designed a custom intake piece that bolted directly to the LS throttle body. We had this 3D printed out of a high temperature carbon composite by another racer, Pierce Hutchinson. It was tricky to fit the Atlas transfer case shifters between the seat and the airbox. It was important to get it right as the Atlas we acquired secondhand is a 3.8 ratio, which means we have to shift from high to low fairly frequently. So Chris is so clever that he's changing the colour on the Haltech dash to purple, and our Switch Pros is also in a purple light, which is really cool because all our stickers and our winch and stuff are purple, so we've got a bit of a colour scheme going on here.
Can you cycle? Or is it probably for
The Haltech Rebel is specifically designed for the LS platform. With just a few pieces of basic input information, the software creates its own base map, and the car started right up. However, we did have the car fine-tuned by LS Motorsports to gain some extra power and ensure it was safe to race. Unfortunately, we missed some finishing parts of the build. We were pushing really hard to get to Outlaws.
Yeah, we had a few delays and then pretty much worked around the clock for the last week or so, but we made it there.
We made it and we started the 6-hour enduro and the car felt better than anything I've ever driven. I was stoked.
Yeah, the low center of gravity and the weight of the car was immediately evident. Like it felt good. It felt solid. You had a few big hits and wheel stands and whatever else, but it took it.
Yeah, it felt super responsive, handled everything, so we were really happy with that. Unfortunately, we got halfway through our first lap and I lost first, second gear in the gearbox.
Yeah, we pulled the box out straight after Outlaws, took it to Alex Russell, who's looked after my stuff for a long time, and he found the output shaft was broken in half and went through the box. So he's currently rebuilding it for us, seeing if there's any upgrades or anything that we can do. It was a second-hand gearbox.
Yeah, so it was always a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, and it looks like it was potentially fractured, so it's just one of those things.
Yeah. So now we're looking at getting that repaired, looking at maybe other options, and then hopefully once we've got it all sorted, we'll be back out there on the tracks and getting the car driving and testing and tuning.